Hello, everyone. We are live yet again. This is going to be one of my authors' chats of the week. And for anybody who jumps on this afterwards, I'm sorry, but I'll let you know right now for people who get to start from the top. I have a lot of background noise today because I have my basement renos still continuing, and it is drywall day, which means if you can't hear behind me, lots of banging, lots of background clamor, just because they're putting up all the walls in their future rooms down below. So apologies about that. But anywho, I'm going to send my invite out and we'll connect and we'll start talking about books, writing, publishing, and everything in between.
Hi, can you hear
All
me
right,
okay?
I can hear you.
Oh, amazing. Thank you. Let me just make sure my camera is working. Let's see. Okay, I think it's working now. Let me just double check. Okay, awesome. Can you see
Yay!
me okay?
Yes, I can.
Oh,
How are
awesome.
you?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting. I haven't done one of these in a while, so thank you
Well,
so
I'm glad
much.
you're hopping on and hanging out on this
Yeah,
one. And
absolutely.
if you haven't listened to any of my lives before, it's pretty conversational. If anybody in the comments chimes in with a bookish comment or question, I usually try to make note of that. I think depending on how people find our lives and who follows who, I may or
Sure.
may not see all those comments. So feel
You're
free to
good.
note anything on your
Okay,
side as well. And
awesome.
again, full apology with all the background
No
noise.
worries.
It just so happens that today's the day they're putting in the drywall, so it's like the nosy
No, you're
day that it
fine.
could
You're
be is
totally fine.
today.
Don't worry about it. Honestly, especially when you're trying to get projects done, sometimes just like you just got to get it done and move on, especially with drywall because that's like such a big step. That's exciting. What are you having done? Is it like remodel or
Yeah, it's
extension?
a full remodel. When my husband and I bought this house, it
Uh-huh.
was just a bare bones, empty basement. No walls, no
Wow.
nothing,
Wow. Okay.
no electric,
Hmm.
no AC. So we've been doing the whole shebang, putting in. So it's going to be a lot more room, and
Hmm.
theoretically, I'll be able to reclaim a larger office space down there when that's all said and
Oh,
done.
that's
Just enough
exciting.
time because I've always dreamed of floor to ceiling bookshelves.
Oh, yes.
That's what I hope to do in this particular room down below is have one whole wall, maybe even an L shape
I
of
love
just
that.
that. Dreams.
Honestly, like and get yourself one of those rolling ladders too. I mean, even if
Or
it's not tall enough, but just the vibes. Come on. Like how can you
yes,
not? That's those are
exactly.
beautiful. But that's awesome.
Well,
Very,
since
very
you're
cool.
my co-host today, I'll let
Uh-huh.
you kind of start this off by introducing
Okay.
yourself and what you write, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Well, for anyone in the chat that doesn't know, my name is SJ Stiles. I write epic fantasy. I love to read. I've been a voracious reader ever since I was a kid, but my love for writing started off, I would say, probably in middle school. And I think that's when a lot of people start creative writing, just because I think that's kind of where, like, we get that sense of like adventure and creativity and we want to apply it to our own stories. But I have only been published for about a year and a half, but I have been writing for quite a long time, and it's just been such a journey. And I'm so thankful for the book talk community because I really found the courage to publish myself because I was a part of this community before that, and so it's been really great ever since then. But I would love to know some more about your journey as well, especially as an author. And I haven't had the chance to read one of your books yet, but I've been able to read through some of there's many of them on my TBR, but the Guardian series sound, with the rune, like just, I love the runes that you have on the covers too. I think that's great, but I would love to learn more about your books as well.
Yeah, well, for me, I think it's like you mentioned a little bit. It's a common thing where people are storytellers from such a young age,
Yeah.
and it may take us years and years and years before we make the effort to start writing stuff down, and then years and years beyond that before
Yeah.
even finishing a book and then trying to attempt to
Yes.
publish it and going through. I mean, it's a long process, but
Yes.
yeah, I feel like I've always been a storyteller, and
Yeah.
actually, I've said this periodically through different lives. My series, that's my young adult adventure and quest based isekai, so portal fantasy set in a
Oh.
magical multiverse. It's
Oh, I
called the
love
Jet
that.
Chronicles, and that multiverse was developed when my sister and I were really young. It was our
Uh-huh.
imaginary play. We were tying all these worlds together and concepts and
Oh, how
everything we just
cool.
loved. We smooshed in there somehow, and since then, I kind of wanted to share those
Uh,
characters, backstories, worlds with other people.
yeah.
And so I was that kid at like 7. I'm going to be an author, and everybody's like, "Oh, sure, yeah." Especially back then when indie publishing was
Mhm.
just like non-existent. They're like, "Oh yeah, sure, yeah, you're going to be. It'll
Yeah,
happen."
they're like, okay, that's
Yeah,
so
and then
awesome though. That's
so
so
it was just
cool.
one of those. I always hello.
Yeah.
It was one of
Hi.
those. Always loved writing. Always loved
Yeah.
storytelling, and it just took me a little while to find the right story to start with because I
Yeah.
didn't want to jump into my passion project. I wanted to make sure I knew what I
Totally.
was doing before then. So I actually wrote a
Yes.
different book
Yeah.
series before jumping backwards to this YA series, but it was one of those super overly confident childhood things. I'm going to be an author. It's okay. I'm okay
That's
with being overly
amazing.
confident.
Yeah. And I think it's really great to just write books for the sake of writing, especially because it helps you like learn how to solve plot holes. Because I think that's the majority of like the first books that I wrote were just
Mhm.
writing until I ran into a plot hole that I couldn't fix. And then, those kind of mistakes that
Yes.
you're like, well, I'm a 17 or 18. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just trying to, make something work and you're just kind of throwing mud at a wall.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, that
Oh,
was very much the early days of my writing was just, I had my writing critique partner, her and I have been critique partners for probably 8 years now. And so a lot of it would just be like sending her just like, a pile of words and be like, does this make sense? Is this nice or does this, well, and she has a background and a master's in psychology. And so especially for someone
yeah.
who's you're writing emotional arcs and character arcs, all these kind of things, and then just kind of correlating some of that to real world applications in human nature and psychology and stuff. But yeah.
Yes, and I do see a comment saying that that's an awesome stable system for critique. But yeah, no, I
Yeah.
kind of feel I'm missing out because I used to be an active member in one particular writing group, but it was an
Uh-huh.
in-person group. And then
Okay.
years later, I moved to New Orleans, so I'm totally from Georgia, so
Oh,
different state, different city, all this kind of stuff,
yeah.
and lost that.
Oh, I'm
And
sorry. That's hard.
obviously, getting on Book Talk, I've kind of developed this kind of interconnection with other authors. Some of them are popping in here,
Yeah.
where it's like you're building a community, but I don't actually have a true critique partner anymore. I probably
Oh,
would benefit. I think everybody would benefit from stuff like that, but
that's great.
it's everybody brings in their different backgrounds and. One of my backgrounds was animal psychology, so
Oh, cool.
it probably
That's
shouldn't
amazing.
shock people if they know
That's so
this. That's
cool.
why I have so many animal references in all my
No
books in just
way.
different ways. Because
Well, that's
that was just
incredible. That's
that,
awesome. I love that.
yeah.
That's really cool. And I do think one of the best parts of like having a critique partner is like, especially when they're in like maybe even a different genre or a different style, is like they can just bring in like different questions and different perspectives that you may not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily have from your own background and just like ask you questions of like, well, why are they doing this? And you're just like, oh, I never thought about it that way.
Yep.
But yeah. No, I love that. That's so cool. And if you ever want a critique partner, I love reading first drafts. I'm all about just starting from the ground up. And so if there's anything that you want to shoot by me, I'm happy to
Well,
just read for
I'm
fun
gonna
and
add
just
that to my notes for the day because I always
okay.
take notes because it's kind of like I learn things and make so many fantastic connections just talking people with people on these kind of platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really a really great way to build author friendships because there's nothing more vulnerable than showing someone your first draft. It's like, hey, here's my sandcastle. It's
Yep.
nothing great, but I don't know, it's so fun. So fun. That's what I love about writing too, because you can just kind of see the way other people's imagination works because everyone's imagination is different and everyone's story is going to be different. And so you can just see people's like the groundwork of where they're trying to go with something. And I don't know, I think that's it's a privilege, especially when you're getting able to see the groundwork of something like that. But
Yeah, and as you kind of mentioned, it's kind of common knowledge, but some people may not think of it this way. That when you're writing your book, you're so close to the material that it's
yeah.
hard for you to step back to
Yes.
see
Yeah.
errors, issues, plot holes,
Yeah.
and having it be at a critique partner or writing group, and
Absolutely.
then that's why people
Yeah.
use beta readers and have editors, developmental editors, and stuff like that to help look with fresh eyes on that.
Yeah,
And those
absolutely.
those
In
are
my
things that everybody should take advantage of somehow.
Absolutely. In one of my art classes in college, they would call that like the 7 foot rule. Like you need to stand
Mm-hmm.
back from your painting 7 feet to kind of see where your mistakes are. And my professor was really, really nice, but he always had a phrase of like, "Oh, this is where you killed your painting. Like this is where it died." And you're just like, "Oh, okay." But I applied that to my books as I'm reading the drafts. I'm like, "Okay, is this where's that part, and where do I need to fix?"
Hmm.
But yeah, so
Yeah,
that's definitely a huge thing.
I've been able to finally, it took me a long time. So don't worry if you're not at the stage where this doesn't work for you, but it took me a while to get to a point where I had enough projects in the work at different
Mm,
stages that I can write a first draft, put it
yes.
into the, proverbial drawer for a couple
Yeah.
months or even a
Hmm.
year, pull it
Yeah.
back out, and then all
Yeah.
of a sudden it's not 100% fresh because you know where you're going with it, but
Yeah.
the actual words you put on paper are
Yes.
again kind of refreshed, and it does help a
Totally.
lot. So
Oh yeah.
um,
Absolutely.
I actually had one of my editors was asking about getting the next book of the series that she works on, and
Uh-huh.
I told her, I was like, I just finished that first draft. I really just wanted to sit for a while and marinate before I bring it out
And that's
and
so
gear it up for
important
that.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like you get epiphanies and other ideas for the series and in that waiting
Mm-hmm.
period. And I try to give myself, after the first draft, I try to give myself like 2 or 3 months where I'm working on other creative projects, be that more writing things or art or whatnot. But I try to give myself time for those epiphanies and ideas of like, oh, okay, this is really where I need to take that character.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe if there's a book coming after it, like, okay, this is where that tiny piece is needs to be changed so it has a bigger
Yep.
impact later on in the story. But I think it's so important to let things marinate, as you say. It's an awesome window, even if it can be frustrating when you're just, you want to go, go, go. But
Yeah, and
yeah.
I have something kind of like that, but I'm working on a Greek myth duology that I'm
Ooh,
actively writing the second book. And the first one,
okay.
I just got back the final rounds from the
Uh-huh.
editor that's working on that one.
Yeah.
But as I'm writing the second book, I'm catching, because I'm diving deeper and deeper in some of these more obscure myths, that I've realized I made a couple
Ooh.
of errors, and I'm like, okay, the first one's not published.
Yeah.
I can go back and correct them, but
Yeah.
does that mean I have to now go back and re-edit the whole book? That just gives me like this.
Oh. Well, and that's when you have to go and make those like surgically
No.
precise
Yes.
changes that you're like, I'm not touching anything else. I'm not
Yep.
looking
It's
at anything else.
just
I'm just, yeah.
just a couple little teeny things, a sentence here, a
Yes.
word there. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
that's kind of given me a different kind of stress of than I've dealt with before. Because
Uh,
I'm like, I just
yeah.
finished the edits. I got it in the inbox yesterday, and I'm like, I already know there's at least three little things I need to tweak.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're
Yeah.
little, but just
But
little
at least
things.
you know them now because there's
Yes.
nothing worse than hitting publish and then like a week later you're like, oh no. Yeah.
Eh, eh, yes.
Yeah. What
So let
Greek
me
myths
ask
are you
you.
working? Oh, go ahead.
Oh
Sorry.
yeah, I was gonna say, actually go back. So why don't you describe your first books? You said
Oh, yeah.
yeah. I was gonna say, let's go
Yeah.
back. Make sure we talk about your
You're
book and
very
not just
easy
the
to talk to,
craft.
so we might just get carried away a few times. You might have to, rein us back in. But
Yes, yes.
the Song of Thysia is it's a multi-point of view epic romantic fantasy, but I really view it as like a multi-generational story because
Hmm.
the characters come from all different walks of life, but also different kingdoms and different like layers in the family tree, if that makes
Uh-huh.
sense. And all of those storylines converge in the Song of Thysia as kind of the consequences of past generations' choices and then the present choices of the current generation that's coming up into power, and then really everything unfolding and kind of like cataclysmically just running together. And one of the, I think, key elements of it is just the generational, I don't want to say generational curses, but essentially, the consequences of what comes before and how do you handle that. And I think that's really relevant to
Yeah.
the time of, the times that we're in. But for the most part, I think there's a lot of different angles you can take multi-point of view fantasy, and you
Mhm.
can have different thematic elements incorporated into different characters. But specifically in the Song of Thysia, I want my readers to feel like they can connect with all of the different characters in different
Mhm.
ways and be surprised by some of them that meet in the beginning and have really just kind of reversal arcs, but also
Mhm.
characters that turn out to be villains that you wouldn't have expected, and then redemption as well. But do you have any other questions about the Song of Thysia, or is there anything you'd like me to go into deeper detail
Well,
on?
you said okay, obviously multi POV. How
Yeah.
many POVs are you writing? Because multi could be 3, 2,
Yes,
it
there's
could
a
be
lot.
16 and 22.
There's a lot. And that's something that I think every writer who writes multi-point of view kind of has to wrestle with is how many point of views do you want to do? And I think in the Song of Thysia, the majority like of recurring point of views that really pull this story, I would say there's a core of 4 to 5. But I have some like kind of like I don't want to say guest point of views and cameo
Yeah,
point of
yeah.
views, but there's a few like surprise characters that come up that only have one POV, and it's because only they could tell that part of the story,
Mhm.
and they're just in that moment. But I would say the core is there's 4 or 5 main characters, and 2 of them are from the older generation, and then the other 3 are part of the younger generation that are facing the consequences of these 2 characters falling
Mhm.
in love and
Mhm.
falling out of love as well. So that's the background story: is you have this queen and this prince consort that fell in love, and they I don't want to give away too many spoilers.
That's fine.
That's
That's
one
fine.
thing I
Yeah,
run
yeah.
into, but they fall in love, and then because of crazy things,
Fate.
they fall out of love. And then the children in the next generation are kind of having to face the consequences of decisions they made before, way before that. But
And is this going to be a series that you mentioned, or is this a standalone book?
so this is a series. The core, I would say the core of the story is a duology. So you have the Song of Thysia and the Song of the
Mhm.
End. The end is actually, it has, a double meaning. It's like the end of the duology, but it's also an island. So they refer to an island at the end of the
Ah,
archipelago as the end because it's the last island. It had another name. That's something you'll get in book 2. But it's kind of referred to as the end, and very much in an anonymous way, because part of the background history of the Song of Thysia is that they used the end as kind of like the island for exiles, and so a lot
mhm.
of people were exiled at one point, and so that's part of the plot that comes forward. And again, trying to
Yes,
tread
I
carefully
understand.
with
It's kind of hard,
spoilers,
especially.
but
Yeah, it's
yeah,
that's always a trick when you're writing sequels. It's
yes,
how much can you describe and talk about the sequel without giving
yeah,
away anything from the first book? And
yes,
yeah, those, yeah, I
yeah,
understand those kind of pitches. I'm not. I say this all the time. I need to be better than about my quick hook lines and
yes,
pitches. But
same,
yeah, it's
same,
another issue altogether when you're dealing with like book 4 or 5, and you're like,
yeah,
oh.
yeah,
But I will say I'm very impressed as a writer whose first 3 series were single POV.
hmm,
For anybody to begin the writing career with multiple POVs, and not only that, a large cast of multiple POVs, that's always amazing to me. I know going forward I'm going to be changing things up and releasing books and series that will
uh-huh,
have multiple,
yeah,
but it just has taken me so long to get comfortable
yeah,
enough to do
yeah.
that it amazes me that some of you can just do it.
Well, thank you. I think a lot of my desire to write MPOV, so on like a reader and like, media consumer, I guess, I love Julian Fellowes' work. He does Downton Abbey, and almost all of his
Mhm.
work is multi-point of view. And so I think that's one of the nuances that I love about multi-point of view storytelling is you can really, kind of like move the chessboard around and see different angles and see who, what everyone's bringing to the table. And I also used to have, before I was a stay-at-home mom, I used to work in medicine. And so I think just being in so many important moments in people's lives as kind of like a background character was, a unique perspective to have. And also just, understanding so many different walks of life and people's stories and how those
Mhm.
all come together. It just kind of melded with my writing career pretty easily.
Yeah, that's. I will just say when you write a book with multiple POVs, for me, and I know some people cringe
Uh-huh.
with the idea of adaptations because you can never fully capture a book. But when someone says multiple POV, I'm like, oh, I bet that will be a good series. If you say single POV, I could see that be a movie.
Mhm.
Obviously, that's not necessarily exclusive one way or the other, but it just makes me think of that. Like movie, you can follow one character around. A
Yeah,
series, you
yeah,
can cut between various
absolutely.
characters, and so
Yeah,
it's just a different way to tell a story. And yeah, everybody has to figure out which way they want to approach writing. And there's so many little choices
absolutely.
you don't even necessarily realize you're making at least
Yeah.
in the
Oh,
beginning.
totally. And I feel like it really adds a lot of mystery, especially for the reader, because you're getting so many different pieces of the story and you can kind of hide things by, maybe switching the point of view. And then I don't want to say it's almost like a magic trick because you're forcing their attention onto something
Hmm.
else. And then you can kind of like move things around in the background, like,
Hmm.
oh, nothing to see here. And then you can, kind of switch things around, which I find a lot of fun.
And also, if you're good about those kind of cliffhanger mentalities,
Yeah.
you always end the POV
Yes.
with that, and you're like, and then you're like, how many more chapters and how
Yeah.
many more sections before I
Yeah.
get back to that character? I really need to know.
That's my favorite thing, honestly. And I was going through some of my beta reader comments today, and there was one of them that said like this like chapter ending was so brutal. Like, what do you mean this isn't the like it's not gonna fit? And I'm like, gotcha. But it's so fun. It's so fun. I love that.
I love that. So, are you have you completed the first draft of the second book, or
Oh
it
yeah.
sounds like you know the ending of the end? So,
Yes, yeah. So the whole series itself, I do plan to have some novellas and a prequel that go along with the core duology.
nice.
But because there's some characters, like especially when you're doing multi-point of view, I'm like, sorry, you're not going to be in the second book because you're just like, there's too
Yeah.
much to try and focus on. And I'm like, you would have a great novella because you're just off on your own. So you're gonna have your own little capsule and you're gonna stay over there because
Hmm.
I can't be in your head for this book. But
That's
um,
fair. And
yeah.
there are so many authors right now taking advantage of that concept of you have your core series or at least your initial series, and then you
Yeah.
build off and expand and build off and maybe do, several decades or hundreds of years,
Yeah.
depending on the author down the line or
Yeah.
before or the sidestepping of
Yeah.
again your characters. And it just enriches the world or worlds that you write, especially for
Absolutely.
your readers. So I can
Well,
definitely.
and I listened to an author panel in last November that was all about like, how hard it is for authors to say goodbye to their worlds and their characters. And it was like, how do you know when to like cut yourself off from your
Yeah.
world? And it's so hard. Like that's such a hard, and I guess it's like you just kind of have to view like, okay, what like are there any other like thematic stories I can or arcs that I haven't explored yet? What kind of like questions are left there for me to answer. But, I think every author kind of has to figure that out at some point, but it's so hard.
It is. I have finished now two different series. Now I am that weird author that
Yeah.
each thing I write is a
Uh-huh.
totally different world, totally different system, totally.
Yeah.
So it's knowing that I have other stories I want to get to. It's
Hmm.
easier for me to say goodbye to an extent.
Yeah.
Of course,
Yes.
that doesn't
Hmm.
mean I'm not going to miss those characters, at least the
Yes.
ones that made it to the end.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because, there's always like the idea of like, oh, I could do something next with them. But you're like, you know what? Sometimes like you don't want to ruin the arcs and the themes that you set up in your story. And you're just like, you're just going to stay over there.
Yeah,
But,
my first book series, I definitely have two different prequel stories
huh?
that I could write, and I don't know if they would be novellas or full length novels that would
Yeah.
be in that world, but it would be
Hmm.
100 years to
Yeah.
multiple hundred years in the
Hmm.
past. But I have them. I
Yeah.
don't feel the calling necessarily to go and approach them, and maybe I never
Sure.
will, but I have them.
Yeah.
They're there. They're just
Yeah.
sitting. But I definitely have other projects that are like other books that are like, write me.
Yes, yes. Oh, absolutely. And I think
I'm
it's so
ready.
fun to explore those too. Like, even though I have the song of, like, I'm working on the song of the end as like my main project, there's all sorts of works in progress that you have to just like,
Mm-hmm.
you just write for the sake of writing. Cause there's only so much enjoyment you can draw from editing. So
Oh
just
my
to have
goodness.
something that you can just have fun and has no consequences, like the characters don't even have names. You're just like, okay, we're just going to do, dialogue
Mm-hmm.
and figure that out.
And that's not a bad thing to do if you're capable of putting a
Yes.
pause to that
Oh, yeah.
and continuing on whatever your main project is, because there are a number
Exactly.
of authors out there that will talk about the new shiny project catches their attention and then they
Yes,
don't
yes.
go back. And if
And
you
that
don't go
is
back, you
very
don't finish
it is a
it.
very dangerous thing. And
Yeah.
that's part of the reason, like when I do those, like just writing for the sake of writing, I don't put in like a ton of detail. I don't like get my like heart invested in some of those things I'm just like, you know
Mhm.
what? I have this fun little dialogue, series of dialogue that I was like, this could be a really fun conversation. I'm gonna write this out, but I'm not gonna give it to anyone. I'm just gonna write it so I don't lose it. But I'm not assigning it to
Mhm.
everybody. It's just gonna go in the idea folder and just, not mess with it too much because I think it's so fun to like flex those creative muscles when you're in that more of like objective criticizing your own work. Like, okay, this needs to change over here and
Mhm.
move that over there. But yeah, I definitely agree. Like there's totally that like shiny object over here, like, oh, look at me. I want to be this fancy new book. But
I
yeah, it's
know.
it's a it's a fine balance.
I know. I have too many projects and like very early stages
Hmm.
because I do try to plan out my publishing cycle by a couple years
Yeah.
in advance,
Oh,
and I'm looking
totally.
at them. I'm like, I am going to get to you. I promise. Just stay. I have to finish
Yeah.
this and finish
Yes.
this
Yeah.
because I already take on too many, and I know it. Every year I go 4 or 5 times
Yeah.
where I'm like, why did I? Why am I?
Oh,
What am I doing? Too
yeah.
many things. And
No, that's hard.
whew,
But
it
that's
is.
great to have it planned so far out, though. That's awesome.
It's again, it's one of those things that's taken me
Yeah.
time to figure that out. So it
Oh,
wasn't
totally.
definitely like year one.
Yeah, and that's I think like every author, because you never know what like life's gonna bring you, but you just gotta have to, make sure you can budget time for everything, and it makes it so fun though when you have something to look forward to. I think it really helps.
That it does. That it does. So for you,
Yeah,
since you have one kid, multiple kids, but
yeah, I have two.
you have other things that will take time and energy, and
Yes.
how do you figure out to schedule and manage the time that you need so you can sit down and be creative?
Yeah. A lot of it is, I'd say, practice because at first, before I had kids, I would just like you have so much I don't know, maybe just like unoccupied time where you can just kind of write
Mhm.
whenever and just like go for as long as you want. But I think having like I don't want to say the external pressure of like, okay, I have to get this done almost makes me more productive because
Ah,
it's
yeah.
like, okay, like I know I have, nap times XYZ times a
Mhm.
day. And like for my toddler, she has one long nap in the middle of the day, which is right now. And so I will usually budget that for like book marketing, writing, XYZ. And you have to be flexible because sometimes, if they need
Mhm.
you, they need you just kind of have to get up and go. But I really try to write middle of the day and that once everyone's gone to bed and just kind
Mhm.
of carve out maybe an hour or two at the end of the night just to work on some projects. But I do try to write every single day. And that's something that I think has really helped keep me on course is
Mhm.
just like, okay, like, next day, keep going. And it really, and there's sometimes you don't have to even push yourself, but there's sometimes you're like, "Ah, I know I have to make a lot of revisions in this next scene. I don't want to make the revisions that I have to make, but like, oh, okay." And then so you just kind of have to push yourself a little bit with those. But it's a lot of fun for the most part. And I think it's something that's like really vital for just like maintaining like because I think it's so easy to get lost in motherhood and like the chaos of
Mhm.
life and whatnot. And it just really helps. It almost provides like structure in a way of it's like, okay, this is my structured mental creativity time. And I love it. It's so, so fun.
Yep, and again, I'm asking this because though I don't have kids at this moment in time, I'm trying to work through distractions and stuff right now, and it's
Yeah.
totally upending my normal flow of things.
Oh.
So I'm like, huh.
Yeah, no, and
Like
it is one of those things where not to like quote Greek myths, but the myth of like the maze and the minotaur and the golden
Mhm.
thread. Writing for me is my golden thread. Like it helps me through so much. It guides me through my day. It gets me through like some of the crazy seasons, but it's just a lot of fun. And I feel like it helps keep me on track regardless of what it is.
Mhm.
And you know, even if it's just writing on my iPhone and my notes app, like that's like I'll at doctor's appointments, I'll, pull that up and just like start like typing things down. If I'm just sitting there, I'm like, okay, I got 15 minutes. I can put that in there in my iPhone and then just copy and paste it over. Especially it's so nice that so many websites are Safari adaptable now. So like
Yeah.
we didn't used to be that easy, especially if you're trying to pull up like I use Dabble as my writing software,
Okay.
and they've gotten their software is really improved in terms of using it on a small screen.
Yeah, yeah. I actually don't
Yeah.
know much about Dabble. I'm actually,
Oh, okay.
so yeah, I was gonna say I am the old fashioned.
Uh-huh.
I use Word.
I I don't blame you at
I have
all.
other things to help edit, but
Yeah.
like Word is like what I write on.
I honestly like so I don't have Microsoft Word on my computer and that's what I used all through college and I loved using Word. Um But with Dabble, so one of the things that I really like about Dabble is that you can do a lot of like goal setting. And so if you have like a goal for your entire book, but also daily goals and weekly, like you can do a lot of like small like metrics just to help keep you, on track and whatnot.
Right,
And then
yeah.
I have, I think it's called like gray mode or like distraction free mode, where like as soon as you start typing and once you've gotten a few keystrokes in, it kind of like whites out the surrounding part of your manuscript. So like it's not, you can't see any of the bars and whatnot. And so it just kind of blocks out anything that your eyes might catch and just get like, you can just focus on the manuscript, which I think is pretty cool. The
Very
only
cool.
cons that I've run into is like I actually have their typo like flagging service just
Mhm.
turned off because it's wildly inaccurate.
Oh
And
no, yeah.
I've sent them feedback and like screenshots of just like, hey, like, and you can adjust it to like low, medium, high. And
Mhm.
I when I first got the service, it was really high, and then I was like, "Oh, absolutely not! You're turning this down." But in general, I would say I really like it for organizing your story too. If you have like it has all these folders alongside the manuscript, it works really well. But um, I like it because I can take it really anywhere, and so it syncs with their server. But I do try to copy and paste and have duplicates of everything just in case.
Yes, keep your duplicates because I've I've had some of those errors, some of those early ones where I've lost material
Oh
because I
yeah,
computer crashes, and I had
yeah.
another one where I had a thumb. It was earlier this year. Oh my gosh, it was the beginning of this year, and it was I was working most of my stuff on a thumb
Mhm.
drive because I was
Oh,
so
okay.
paranoid because of the computer crash issue I had years
Hmm.
before.
Oh, that's so hard.
But I was supposed to have this auto just
Uh-huh.
uploading onto one of those cloud services kind of thing,
Hmm.
and it got out of whack, and so it wasn't auto saving. So
Oh
when my thumb
no.
drive got broken, I was like, okay, well at least it's saved to that womp womp, and I was like,
Oh man, that's
oh
brutal. That's
god,
so
oh my
hard.
goodness. Was
Oh,
able to have a specialist recover all that, and I
no
paid a pretty
way.
penny for that. But again, save your
That's
stuff
amazing.
multiple places. Check periodically to make sure it's
Yeah.
still being saved.
I will, honestly, because I try to keep everything saved in like the Apple Cloud, but also on Dabble and
Yeah,
then on my computer in the basement as well. So I'll double check that because like it's hundreds of hours if you lose
yeah,
all of that. Like
yeah.
that's so hard. Wow. I'm glad you were able to get that back though.
Me too.
Yeah, like that's like every author's worst nightmare is to lose. Like, was it an entire book or books?
Well, so what was this time? Let me see if I remember correctly.
Hmm.
Um, this time it wasn't. I had two thumb drives. One was my active writing, and
Uh-huh.
one is everything I do business wise. So my
Oh, smart.
template, it was the
Yeah.
business one. So it was all like marketing materials, and for years and
Oof.
years, and all the things. And I was just like, that was stressing me out because I was just like,
Yeah.
I don't want to start over making all this stuff again.
Yeah. No. Oh, of course not.
Thankfully, though,
I
it was not my manuscripts that time.
uh, I had a not a similar experience, but I had an experience like that actually with Dabble. And part of the reason I have the settings turned down is because when they first rolled out a lot of their like typo flagging things and like kind of like I don't want to say writing advice, but like there's sometimes when you have it really high, it'd be like, oh, like these are the suggestions. When it first rolled out, it messed up a lot of people's manuscripts, including mine, because it just kind of gave it like broadly and it didn't give you the option to accept or decline. And it like it switched the like I don't want to say like it used like corporate language, but it started changing things and making adjustments. Like it did almost like an accept all change. And
Wow.
especially when you're trying to write like fantasy, there's like words that I'm like, I would never use that. Or like there would be different phrases that I'm like, this is like corporate jargon. Like, why are you like it would like shorten things and change things around. And I'm like, this is like it was a nightmare because it was the entire manuscript. And so I had to go and there was no like I guess maybe now in hindsight I could have seen if there was like a previous save that they could have gone back to.
Yeah.
But I had reached out to the company and was like, how do I get this back? And they're like, you can't. Like it's done now. And so I they're like the only thing you can do is turn off those like, advanced
Yeah.
settings that we put in. And so I turned that off and I stopped using Dabble for a while because I was a little bit
Yeah.
like freaked out by that. But I've gone back to it now because I like the story structure setup that they have. But I just have all of their typo suggestions turned off because I was like, I'm
Mhm.
not going anywhere near that again.
Yeah, well,
But
that's one thing about people who are starting their writing career nowadays. Then there are so many more writing apps and platforms
Yes.
and
Hmm.
technology that's there that
Yeah.
is beneficial to people. Now, not all of them are the same level because some of them
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
still learning or
Yeah.
newer and et cetera, so on. Maybe some may have better functions in certain ways than
Yes.
others,
Yeah.
vice versa. But there are a lot out there. Like I said, I had not heard of Down before, but
Yeah.
and I can hear other people are now moving to my area of the basement below me, so it's going to get louder as I
No
talk.
worries.
So
No
if I'm
worries.
shouting at some point, it's just I'm
Uh-huh.
sorry. It's just because
It's all
I
good.
can't hear
It's all
myself.
good. No worries.
But yeah, no, it's nice that there are so many aids for writers
Yes.
out there now.
Yeah. Absolutely. And what's funny is, so I've used Pro Writing Aid a couple times just for
Mm-hmm.
like, like especially like if I'm trying to edit a small chunk of
Yeah.
things and I just want to like it's or like captions and stuff. I've used that for that as
Mm-hmm.
well. But it doesn't catch words as well as I think a lot of people think it does. And
Yep.
sometimes it'll flag words that are real words, but it's just not trained on it.
Yep.
And so you have to be like so careful with them. And that's why I really try not to rely on them too heavily because
Mm-hmm.
they're definitely not as accurate as a human editor, which is so important.
I do, yeah, I was gonna say, and that's yeah, I always still have human editors. That's I will do my own
Hmm.
self edits.
Hmm.
Obviously, since I write
Same.
a Word, see what Word does. Start
Yeah,
using
yeah,
Pro Writing Aid as just another alternative. I do
yeah.
like ability to like some of their stats of like is
Hmm.
how is your variability between length of words or if things are too repetitive and
Yes.
the echoes
Hmm.
and everything. I'll kind of
Yeah.
utilize those functions because that I find helpful. But yeah, I
Oh,
still have
yeah.
editors beyond
Yeah.
that because
Oh,
it doesn't matter.
absolutely.
You need as
Yeah.
many eyes, you need as many things to help
Yes.
make that book again that great. Wonderful.
Yeah.
And I see, hi Ben, saying pro writing aid is good for a passive voice. Yes,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yes.
that's very true. And I do kind of write with that. So I don't know
Yeah.
how it would with someone writing a little bit more of an active voice or not. It just I guess depends on your
Yeah,
writing
and I
style.
think every software has its strength, and I think Pro Writing Aid does a really, really good job of prioritizing errors. Like if they find something that they're like, "Hey, this is a like definitely we know for sure that this is not right," so you can kind
Mm-hmm.
of leaf through those, especially for basic stuff. But even like he was saying with the passive voice, I find it really helpful with that too. Even if you don't even intend to do it, sometimes it'll like flag stuff every now and again. Because I
Yeah.
think conversationally, we sometimes speak in passive voice. And so, especially with dialogue, sometimes they can flag that too, but just
And
depends.
that's something I'm trying to be aware of because here's the thing: when we're just speaking, just like what we're doing right now, just off the cuff,
Yeah,
it doesn't mean what we're saying is grammatically correct, but it makes
exactly.
sense in conversation and
Exactly.
everything. And so
Yeah.
sometimes I'm aware, like, oh no, I want my character to speak in a way that is not true, not grammatically
Yeah.
correct,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's just very real for a character. But that
Yeah.
cannot be the way for the narration. Anything that's
Yes.
just for
Yeah.
narration really
Totally.
should be,
Hmm.
watched and edited. But interesting
Yeah.
stuff. So let me
And
ask
it's,
you now that you've been
yeah.
published for a little bit of time,
Uh-huh.
how do you like to try to find new readers and reach new readers? Obviously, you're here on Book Talk,
Oh,
but
yeah.
what else do you like to do to just kind of reach a wider audience for
Mhm.
your book?
I'm finding my personal favorite is actually in-person events. I'm really starting to add more of those to my calendar just because nothing beats like face-to-face interactions
That's
and
true.
meeting readers firsthand. It's tricky. It's honestly, I feel like every day you kind of have to adapt to what social media changes and throws at you and just kind of have to, stay on your toes a little bit.
Yep.
Um, Beyond, I would say in-person events are my favorite, and I find the best way to get like large quantities, especially if you're at a really good event. Like the first event I did was at Bookmarks in Winston-Salem. It's a great event. It's like 20 years old. They have great authors. I'm so bummed I can't do it this year, but they're having like Tracy Dion of the Legendborn cycle.
Wow.
She's gonna be there, and there's like tons of other ones. But I'm so bummed that I can't be there this year. But it's an awesome, awesome place for readers, and just if you want to like listen to panels and whatnot, love that event. But on social media, I would say Book Talk has been a really great start for me. I'm mostly on Book Talk and on Instagram. I haven't branched out to YouTube yet. I'm a little intimidated by the longer form videos, but what's your experience been like with YouTube?
So I've been on YouTube for a little while
Uh-huh.
now. When I post longer form videos, um, you get less views. They was it last year when they recently started kind
Huh?
of pushing their shorter form
Oh,
videos.
really? Okay.
So for me, as a person who likes to repurpose everything I can, really what
Yeah.
I do is anytime I have these lives and whenever this
Uh-huh.
platform doesn't glitch, I will repurpose the lives on there
Oh,
for
how
people to go
cool.
back and reference. And I put,
Yeah.
I know I will be if this works, your
Yeah.
contact information down below.
Oh, thank you.
Um,
That's so cool.
I do a little series about mythological creatures,
Hmm.
entities, that kind of thing. Because
Oh,
again, writing
nice.
fantasy, it just makes sense because it's what I
Oh,
like.
I love that.
And then outside of that, I repurpose a variety of just my
Yeah,
book talk little shorts,
that's
and those
great. That's so
draw a
cool.
lot more views because
Yeah,
that's what YouTube's pushing
they're
right
they're
now.
pushing out right now. That makes
So
sense.
yeah, if you just have your stuff when I have mine like automatically downloaded anytime I
Oh,
post one. If it's a
yeah,
video that kind of makes sense, I'll repurpose it, post it up there, and
that's so
yeah,
smart.
yeah.
I love
Try not
that.
to work smarter, not harder.
Absolutely. Well, and then that's more time for writing too. The more you can just kind of, get down to a formula, that's great. That's so good.
I say this and I think this, and then I jump on a new platform, and then I'm like, oh, there goes more time.
Yeah, it's
The
so
time I
hard.
got back is gone again because
Yeah.
I have that FOMO. I have to be in on all the stuff, which you really don't need to do. People don't do what I do. Do what's right for you.
Yeah. No, you said you had a series on mythological creatures. Do you have a favorite?
Okay, so mythological creatures. Oh,
Hmm.
do I have a favorite? Well, I'm the classic sucker for dragons, and that's
Oh,
why the
yeah.
book I'm about to release on the 19th. It was fun
Oh,
for me because the one of the worlds in this magical multiverse is the
yeah.
world based on dragon lore, dragons,
Oh,
dragonkin,
how
and so
cool.
it's been a lot of fun for me to kind of deep dive and write about dragon-like creatures that
I
were
love
pulled from myths
that.
around the world. So I've
Oh,
always been
oh,
a
how
sucker for
cool.
that. But for obscure
Yeah,
stuff, there are some really fun obscure creatures, and I would have to like pause and think for a moment to. But
that's
like
okay.
there are so many out there that it is wild.
Congratulations on your release coming up. I didn't know that. That's so cool. That's
It's because I'm
awesome.
so bad about promoting upcoming releases. I will go promotion thing whenever I run a
Yeah,
Kickstarter, and then when the
yeah,
books are out, I'll like tag them all that kind of
yeah,
stuff. But the
yeah,
pre-order, the setup, the release, I am terrible
yeah.
at that.
It's hard. It is really hard, and it's hard to know how soon because like the internet, like the algorithms change. Like so, you could
Yep.
start marketing a long time beforehand, but then you lose the momentum of it all. So
Yeah.
it's tricky to figure out. But that's so cool. So with your release, you said the 19th.
Yes.
What's the title?
It's the world of the worms. WYRMS. So
Oh,
that's
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's awesome. That's so good. It took me, I would say, the first the first fantasy book I read that used the word worm in it, I was like, are they talking about like real worms? Like I was so confused. And then once, you kind of have to build up a fantasy lexicon as you read. You're like,
Yes.
okay, I know I'm in the club now. I know what that means. But
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
I was that child growing up where I would collect anthologies and encyclopedias of
Oh,
myths. And
cool.
so I was the one using those terms really early on.
Oh, that's
And for
awesome.
whatever reason, for whatever reason, because
Oh,
I had read it and learned about it so
yeah,
young,
yeah.
even today, I have to like give
Hmm.
myself a pause and be like, I have to remind myself, not everybody just automatically knows this is what this is and this is what this
You're
is.
right. You're totally right.
It's
Because and that was one, like, I don't want to say I kept my writing a secret, but like, I never wanted my family to feel like pressured to read my books. And like, it's
mhm.
one of those things where like, I'd be like, hey, I'm putting out a book, but you don't have, like, I didn't want to make a big deal out of it because a lot of them aren't fantasy readers, but they did because they were excited about it. And a
Yeah.
lot of them were just like, what is this? What does this mean? And so,
Yep.
explaining certain fantasy things that you're like, okay, a fantasy reader would know what this means, but that kind of a whatnot. And I think my favorite comment was from my younger sister, who she loves to read, but she's more into mystery thrillers. She doesn't really do
Mhm.
fantasy at all. And so she's like, why are the names weird? Why are the names weird? And I was like, weird, what do you mean? She's like, they're just spelled like they're not like normal like people names. And I was like, that's just fantasy. That's just how fantasy names work. Like I promise. Like that's just that's part of the deal. When you sign up for fantasy, you get weird names. But
That's
exactly, weird names are fun, and I
yeah, we're
base a
being
lot of mine off of his like because I want the aesthetic of the song if I see it to feel historical, and so
yeah, show the
I
cover, show the
oh
cover.
yeah, yeah, I drew inspiration from history. So there's some historical names that you'll be like, oh, like that's like a wink to that real historical person, but it's not like it's not a retelling. It's not like meant to be that exact person retold. But I love historical names, and I feel like they add a different layer of
Mhm.
immersion to the story when you can have, fun spellings and whatnot. But
Well, I will. This is one of those stories I periodically will tell because when I was working on
uh
my first book series,
yeah.
I set up like just the background history, and I
Hmm.
chose again these. I was some of the names that I was pulling, especially for the humans, the other
Yeah.
races, shapeshifters, were these
Yeah.
older sounding human names. You had Byron and stuff like that. So I
Yes.
chose
Yeah.
a name that I was like never heard, and never met anybody with
Hmm.
this name. So
Yeah.
I thought it was more or less just a dying out or a dead,
Yeah.
name, and it was Landon. And so I was like, okay, I'm kind of setting you up
Yeah.
as like this ancient villain and all this kind of stuff. Little did I know that in a few years I would meet and eventually marry a Landon.
That's very funny. That's very
So
funny.
everybody's just like, how's y'all's relationship? I'm like, it's great.
That's
Sorry.
hilarious. That's very funny. And
Trying to
it's
get
true, like
them.
once you write a character with a name, it either is like the best or the worst, depending on their arc. But that's so funny. I love that. That's
Well,
awesome.
let me ask, because the hour's going to start speeding by. Always happens when we hit
Yeah.
that three-fourths
Yeah.
mark. So there are a couple questions I always like to ask
Uh-huh.
again with the
Yeah.
idea of repurposing this on the YouTube
Oh,
later
totally.
on.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But outside of book talk, where can
Yeah.
people find and follow you? Do you have a website,
Oh,
newsletter, other
yeah.
socials, that kind of thing?
Absolutely. I do have a website, and my imprint name is Thistle and Thimble Press. And so I have a website. It'll show up as SJ Styles Thistle and Thimble Press. So that's how you know you found me. But I'm on Instagram with the same handle of at SJ Styles. I don't have a YouTube platform, but I am on Threads as SJ Styles as well. But those are the main areas that I'm on, is like TikTok, Instagram, and then my author website.
That's great.
Yeah.
One of the other questions I have, because it's
Uh,
just one that if you don't ask, someone's going to ask.
yeah.
Where can people get your book and in what format? So, are you exclusive to
Yeah.
Sean? Do you sell direct? Are you wide? All that.
All of the above, kind of, and in some ways. My ebook, I was originally out wide. I did wide with my ebook for about a year and a half, and then I am going to do a short stint on KU before book two comes out. But then
Mm-hmm.
I'll pull it back and then go wide again because I love being in the libraries. I love
Yes.
being on
Yes.
Libby, and I'm really like I'm going to be sad when it's not on there for a little bit, but I was able to get in the libraries that were able to request it before then. So I'll do a short break of going wide with my ebook,
Mm-hmm.
but it is going to be on KU on the 21st. So it'll starting the 21st until the release of book two, and then a little bit after it'll be on KU. But I've got hardcovers, paperbacks. The hardcover is wide, and then the paperback is exclusive. Or no, it's not exclusive. It's through the Zon and Barnes and Noble, and then audiobook is through Audible at the moment.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's one of those benefits for people who are indie, that you can kind of pick and choose and everything, and you just have to figure out what works for you. Because
yeah,
I started off with my books in KU, and I want to
yeah.
say yes, at that time I was making more money with my ebooks on them,
Yeah.
but I really just wanted to take them wide. I didn't want to put all my eggs in one basket, and I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
the idea, again, like you were mentioned about libraries and
Yeah.
being able to do that. So
Yes. Yeah.
towards the beginning of this year, finally got all my ebooks wide, and I took
Oh,
a number of my
nice.
audiobooks and made them widely available too.
Oh,
So it is kind
cool.
of cool to be like, hey, if you want to listen to my audiobook, you could go to Spotify, or you could buy directly from me, or all these kind of
Oh, that's
things. And
awesome.
so
That's so cool.
it's you just have to figure out what you value, what's best for
Yeah,
you, and I will take the
absolutely.
hit with the ebooks right now,
Yeah.
just so I can be able to be wide, knowing that not everybody can
Yes.
afford
Absolutely. And I think
platforms.
that's what's
And
like you said with like indie, you can kind of be flexible and choose when you want to do stuff. And so just because I know the release of book two is coming up, I wanted to be, try and find more readers that way and, get it as available as possible. And then that way, as soon as I feel comfortable and like I feel like it's met its goal with being in KU, I can pull it back and then go wide again because it was so cool to have like see those notifications of like, oh, a library has my book. Like as someone who grew up loving the library system and loving having a library card, it was really
yeah,
important for me to know it's like at least we've got it, we've got a few on the list there. but it's so fun. And I do love selling direct. Like that's one of my favorite
Mhm.
doing being able to like send out personalized copies. Like it's the best. It's so fun. I'll never get over getting like a fresh box of books. It's so special.
Yeah, right now, being able now to distribute ebooks and audiobooks
Yeah.
directly as well,
Oh
it's
yeah.
it's just a neat way to again have that connection. You're cutting out again the
Hmm.
theoretical middleman. You're when people buy directly from me, obviously you're
Yeah.
supporting the right way, but you're still
Yeah.
getting the same quality book, be it ebook or audio format, and it's just a neat thing. One of the things that I'm going to try for the first
Hmm.
time, the next convention I'm attending is
Yeah.
Dragon Con in the Atlanta area, and I'll
Oh,
be
how fun.
selling at the Gather. It's a
Uh-huh.
sub event called the Gather. It's that Friday evening, and it'll be the
Okay.
first time that I'm going to be selling my digital versions at a live event.
Oh.
So
Oh.
I'm
Honestly, let me know how that goes,
curious because
especially
it's
with
obviously
in-person events, because I would love to know like what your experience was like with that.
yeah. Well, I will have to like definitely talk about that and see how it goes. And the
Yeah.
reason why I was curious about it because the last event I did in the
Hmm.
spring, I took the summer off. It
Yeah.
was so interesting that every other person was inquiring about audio. Do you sell audio? Do you sell audio? And I was like, yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
sell it from our website, but
Yeah.
because it's a convention, people are going to go listen to the panel,
Yeah.
go to the
Yeah.
show, go whatever.
Hmm.
They're not going to necessarily remember you,
Yeah.
and so being able to have that option to be like, oh, I can
Yes.
sell that right
Yeah.
now, and then you can get it like right now,
Yeah. No, that's
so
great.
we'll see, we'll see.
That's awesome.
Trying new
And
things.
oh, I agree. And I think, I don't know, having an audiobook was really, really important to me. And I think it's so awesome just to have that as an accessibility aspect, but
Mm-hmm.
immersive reading too, like that's really popular. And so like just being able to offer that and have that option. And I find as a writer, it's really helpful when you're doing like your continuity read, just to be able to listen to it so you can like kind of focus on the story itself and whatnot. But yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, let me also ask,
Oh yeah.
since this is the third question of all those
Yeah.
that I always ask, is there any particular topic that you wanted to cover that we haven't covered? And this is for anybody who's listening as well. And do
Oh.
you have any questions you wanted to ask that you haven't had a chance to ask yet? Because this is that time.
I'm trying to think. Topics. Hmm. I don't
I
know.
know.
I'm drawing a blank, but
It's okay.
I just really enjoyed talking with you. It's so I love that's one of the things I love about the book talk community. It's really just making like deeper connections with other authors that I'm like, I've seen their content, like I want to get to know them more. I want to know their stories. I want to know their background. Like so just I really appreciate just having the opportunity to come on here and chat and answer questions and whatnot.
So, and if you're you said you went to an event in the Winston-Salem, so all
Yes.
I can assume is you're East Coast somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. East
Uh,
Coast.
so, what other events do you like to go to? I know you said you weren't going to miss that
Yeah.
particular one this year, but are there any other
Yes.
ones that are like your go-to so far that you
So
kind
I
of
have two coming up that I'm really excited for. Both of them are in North Carolina, but one of them is actually a ball. I'm very excited about. I've never been to one of the like fantasy balls, but
yeah,
they reached out because they were looking for more local authors, and I'm not local, but I was close enough. That I'm like, yeah, I can do that, and I think it'll be really, really fun. Super excited. Never done a ball before. Like I've done
me
like
either.
farmers markets and like
Yeah.
like book of big book like the bookmark ones was huge. Like it was so fun. Like I would honestly recommend it to anyone who wants to go because it was such a wonderful experience. But um I'm also going to one in the Charlotte area that is in the early December, which is much more traditional like book festival. But
Mhm.
I think the book festivals are a lot of fun, and every like team that puts them on is a little bit different. But
Yes.
it's so fun. And I love being able to meet readers in person and talk to them and just kind of chat. Like some people just want to come up and, take a look and then,
Yeah, yeah.
like kind of like, I don't want to say like little hermit crabs, but they kind of like scuttle forward. They're like, okay, bye. But then other times you have people that just want to, stay and chat and talk about their
Yeah.
favorite books and like their different stories, what they mean to them. But I don't know. I love it all. I think it's so fun.
Oh, I definitely agree. I've been enjoying going to these live events. It's just
Hmm.
for me trying to find that best way because I don't want
Yeah.
to be that person
Yeah.
who's like, "Come over here, look at my
Oh,
books," and like
yeah.
shout across the
Yeah.
aisle. There are people who do that. Some of them do very well doing that. It's just not comfortable to me doing that.
No,
I
no. I
prefer
think I
people
have
come
too much
over,
social
but then
anxiety to do that.
I
No.
love when people come over, but I also am always like, when do I like say something, or are you just browsing, or you just the person who wants to thumb through or read the first page, like
Yeah, and I try to have like options. Like I try to make the booth as eye-catching as I can, but not in like an obnoxious way. I try to make it very aesthetically pleasing, very like
mhm,
fantasy oriented, just so it can kind of like already tell someone on like a passing glance, like, oh, this is a fantasy author, you know? And those kind of things, like having character art and all sorts of stuff, just to conversation pieces,
yep,
honestly. And one of the things I think for me, like the easiest way to engage with someone is just kind of like do a quick like, okay, are they my ideal reader? Are they not? Because sometimes you don't know, but like if
yep,
they've got like merch from another author and you're like, wait, I love the Legend Born cycle. Like I'm like, super excited. Like even just to talk about
mhm,
other books with other readers is really fun. But you can kind of do a quick look and be like, okay, like there's something I can connect with this person and engage with them and just
yep.
kind of jump off. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and that's okay. Because sometimes, just like you said, like I don't want to be out there yelling, and they may not want to be yelled at. So
That's
it
true.
just depends.
I did. Well, actually, before I get to that, I want to
Yeah.
say one of my things that I've been lugging around. It won't be for the Dragon Con one. I don't think. I think my
Yeah.
table size is going to be too small. But
Yeah.
because of my passion for all things Nordic, I have a
Yeah.
replica Viking helmet and stand. And
Oh.
so when I put that on there, so many people just because it's very unique, but it also is
Mhm.
applicable and it draws. It's a great conversation piece, as you said. But
Yeah.
the one tip that someone showed me
Yeah.
about a year ago, which I thought was a great thing, was because I have the little stands for some of my books, so they're kind of leaning
Yeah.
upwards.
Mhm.
Come up with I use a heavier piece of paper, but kind of like an extra wide bookmark almost that sticks up, and it just says your 1 to 2 sentence hook, and it says your genres,
Oh.
and it just gives
Oh.
your age range genres and just a couple quick
Yeah.
facts so people can come be like, huh, okay, because sometimes you
Yeah.
aren't exactly sure by the cover what it
Yes.
is,
Yeah.
or
Oh,
maybe
totally.
you're not
Yeah.
a person who's comfortable enough to ask. But
Oh,
having those out
yeah.
there, a lot of people will pause and like read them and decide, okay, maybe
Yes.
that's the
Yeah,
series.
and I think it's so great to have those kind of like visual aids, but also like just like information pieces because it's like it's just to, I don't want to say save one less question, but sometimes people like they may not feel comfortable
Yeah.
asking you outright, and so just being able to clarify that for them immediately is
Mhm.
awesome. I think that's super great.
Yeah, and it's just something
Yeah.
easy to do. You can print that out
Yes. Oh
and you just
yeah,
have it. And
absolutely.
reprint them because I think they've got a little bunged up traveling around all spring. So now I have to like kind of
Totally.
refresh them. I think.
Yeah,
I'll be
absolutely.
putting that on my to-do list over the next couple of weeks before this
And I find
convention.
having information vertically has been more successful than laying down because
Mm-hmm.
like when people like look down, sometimes they get kind of lost in the table of
Yep.
everything that's on the table. But when it's like held up, they're a lot more, it's like a lot easier for
Mm-hmm.
them to like there's no effort. Like they don't have to move their head. They literally just have
Yep.
to read it. And like
Yeah.
I've found that to be the most successful in terms of trying to get information across quickly.
There's so many tips and tricks for people. It
Yeah.
is
Oh
bizarre.
yeah.
It's wild.
Yes.
And we all continue to learn, and many of
Yeah.
us are nice enough that we share, and it's just like, oh, I love
Yeah.
that idea. Can I use that idea?
Absolutely, because there's so much that goes into in-person events and just getting ready for all of that.
That is very true. Yeah, it is. I have like
Thanks
this
for the
whole
hydration.
checklist that I'm always involving for each event because I like,
Yeah.
ooh, I'm going to add this. Ooh, I'm going to change this. Ooh, this, I have to remember this
Yeah.
next time. And yeah, it's like
Oh,
anything, it's a
absolutely.
learning curve.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and I do find it. So one of my close author friends is Ellie Van Veen. I don't know if you've read any of her stuff. I feel like you would really like her series Under Cold Moons. It's so good. It's great, and it has a lot of like wyvern in it, and especially if you're into
Ooh,
scaly creatures,
yeah.
you would love it. But I love doing events with her because we usually will try and like table up so you can just have somebody to talk to when things
Oh,
are
yeah.
like when things slow down or when things are get started, like just like help each other out and whatnot. It's the best. It's so
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, for Dragon Con, I know last
Uh-huh.
year we requested it this year, so I won't know until I get there. But
Oh, okay.
my one of the other book talk authors on here, Jason Duro, and I
Uh-huh.
usually go and
Oh,
booths next to
yeah.
each other. So because I've
Those
read his
videos are
books, and I'm
great.
just like, oh,
Yeah.
you should talk to him because of this, and
Yeah.
it's kind of we go back and forth pitching each
Uh-huh.
other's stuff, and it is a lot of fun because
I've
no
just
one
gotten
reader
started on
likes
the Teshavar
everything, and
series, but his oh, go
okay,
ahead. Sorry, it cut
yeah.
out for a second there.
Oh, no. I was gonna say no one reader likes necessarily everything, and so
Yeah.
sometimes maybe someone's not interested in yours, and that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Oh,
But then you can get to sit
absolutely.
in this person's, and if you know that, you're like, oh
Yes,
wait,
yes.
we need to go
Honestly,
there.
I love being able to be that person if like just to be like, okay, what do you like and how can I help you find it? Like
Hmm.
almost like a librarian in a way, but not, just being like, okay, I want you to find your book and like I can help you. So,
Yep.
and now someone in the comments, I'm not sure if this was for me or for Catherine, but what is your favorite aspect of world building?
Well, I was going to say, I get this question multiple times in my
Okay.
life, so I will let you start off because
Okay.
I'm always changing my answer.
Okay. Well, my
A little
favorite
bit.
aspect of world building that isn't like super plot heavy would
Hmm.
probably be more of like the cultural aspects like food. And actually fun
Hmm.
fact, I actually like to include on a cultural, especially since the Song of Sea is like based in ancient history, dance is really important in ancient historical storytelling. And so
Hmm.
I always try to include like some sort of like unique form of dance and not anything crazy, but just
Oh,
I find it's such an important part of ancient cultures that I want to like have little nods to that, especially when they like celebrate the changing of seasons or different like rituals or historical dates and stuff like that. Like it's important, and so that's one of the plot points in book one, book two. Not plot points, but like world building points. So like food, dance, music, and like regional things that make each region stand out. I don't know. That's that I would say that kind of thing, like soft cultural things rather than like big heavy plot world building stuff, but yeah.
okay, sorry, this popped in my head when you were talking about
Uh-huh.
this. You're the first one I think I've talked to who is referencing about incorporating a lot
Yeah.
of dance in your books.
Yeah.
What if, talking about YouTube, if you came up with your dance and you had someone to partner with you, you film yourself doing the dance and then you put the QR code or the link in your books and
Oh,
people could go and then learn your dance on your YouTube channel?
that is really sweet and fun.
That'd
My
be
husband would
cool.
probably say no, but because I have roped him into certain things because when you're trying to like choreograph stuff,
Yeah.
because you have to write the explanation of it without it being too
Yeah.
wordy, and then also be like, is this possible?
Yeah.
And so there's sometimes I'll just be like, all right, sweetheart, come here. We're gonna practice something really quick and obliges me. But yeah, no, on recording probably wouldn't. But I might be able to figure out one of the things I love with character art is just the way that
Mhm.
people can like visualize stuff. And so that's a good idea. I like
Yeah.
that.
I
Yeah.
would think that would be really neat. And then it also gets people to go and check out your YouTube channel whenever you have one.
Yeah. Oh,
And
totally.
again, it's a little more of an immersive experience. And I've never thought
Yeah.
about that, but I like this. Like just
Yeah.
this little mini demo of like
Yeah.
a
Oh,
dance. And
yeah.
depending on the type of dance, a lot of them are repetitive once you get to,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
just like you do
And
this
there
for
might
me.
even be people that I could with because I'm not the best dancer. I may come up with them, but it doesn't mean I'm good at dancing.
You could just be like, and
But
here's our guest demo people. And
yes,
we're like, oh,
exactly.
okay.
Exactly.
I like that.
That's a clever
Thank you for
idea.
the question of world building again.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh yes, I guess the way I would answer it at this moment would be right now, since I have a couple. I mentioned this before. For this exact question, is I have a couple long-term
Hmm.
series that I'm gearing towards and are in various stages of world building
Yeah.
for. And one of the things that I haven't got to yet, but I'm
Hmm.
very excited about, is
Yeah.
really adding the geography for the
Oh.
world map. Because
Oh,
once
yeah.
I because when you know a geography, and for me, the way I write in this particular book series is going to be
Uh-huh.
a very D&D, Witcher kind of dark
Oh,
fantasy.
very
There's
cool.
going to be a
Very
lot of
cool.
monsters involved, and
Ooh, we love
so
that.
coming up with ecosystems, meshes,
Oh,
where they're going
yeah.
to exist, and what you can find where, and
Oh, I
so
love
putting
that.
all that together is going to be very
Yeah.
exciting. A little
That's so
intimidating.
fun. That's so good. Honestly, I'm very intrigued by that. Like, as much as I'm there's I'm just like I would say in the very shallow end of adding creatures into my book because there's more creatures in book two. But I just think it's so fun, especially when you kind of create your own like zoology in a way.
Yes.
But yeah, it's so fun.
Yes, I saw. He's an author. He doesn't write necessarily fantasy.
Hmm.
I'm trying to think of how you would categorize his. How do you categorize? But he's a literary RPG author that's better known. But his name's Matt Dinneman, and
Uh-huh.
he came up. I think it was for his Kickstarter. I didn't support it, but I've
Hmm.
seen people
Yeah.
receive it. And he came up with a deck of cards with a lot of his creatures and the
Oh, how
antagonists
fun.
of all the things that
That's
the characters
awesome.
have to deal with throughout. And I was like, oh,
Yeah,
that idea. I want to
that's
have a
really
deck of
clever.
cards, just like a monster verse.
Yeah. I mean, and it's a good flashcard for you as an author too, like as you're trying to figure stuff out, and
Well,
like especially if those were your creatures too. But
exactly,
yeah,
exactly. Well,
yeah.
I will say since we've hit the hour, I
Oh,
know my dogs have
yeah.
been up and they're probably dancing and they're great to be let out.
No worries.
If anybody has any last minute questions, feel free to
Yeah.
ask. But beyond that, thank you so much for hanging out with me
No,
today.
this
It's
has
been
been so nice.
lovely
Thank
talking with
you.
you, and I
Oh
have
yeah, you
my
too.
series of notes from today. I'm
Oh
almost
yeah. I just like I said, I love being able to connect with like other authors. Like I said, I've seen your content before. I haven't had the chance to read your books yet, but I would love to. And like
my pleasure.
especially with I'm super excited about your release on the 19th. So
Oh,
I hope
thank
that
you.
goes so well. And it's been so nice being able to chat with you.
Yes, and it's been lovely being able to talk to you. And as I mentioned before, if this platform's nice, I'll repurpose this on my YouTube channel, put all your
Oh
contact
yeah.
information down below. So hopefully people can continue to
Thanks.
discover you going forward.
Oh,
And if they want to
thank you.
reference anything we talked about today, it's there because I know I reference them a lot.
Yeah.
Like,
Awesome.
you said that way. What was that? Okay, yes.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely do that and let you know if when I'm able
Awesome.
to do that. But beyond
Okay.
that, have a lovely week. It's been
Thank you.
great to talk to you. And if you ever want to do
Yeah.
another one of these, I
Oh,
schedule them
sure.
in advance. I do them weekly, but I schedule them in advance.
I would love to. Yep. I would. We can definitely plan another one because that would be so fun.
Maybe after your second book release. That would
Oh
be
yeah,
great.
or even before too.
Yeah,
So just
yeah.
let me know
Okay,
because that
perfect.
I'm releasing book two in March. So a
Ooh.
little bit from now, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, of course. And thank
Yeah.
you for everybody who's come and hung out with us. I can speak. See,
Yeah.
there's no editing service for.
So you're
But
good.
thank you for hanging out. And until next time, everyone, have a wonderful day.
Bye. Thank you again.